Okay, I'm gonna showcase my Necro build a little bit, but first I want to help this guy out if I can. Somewhere here there's a nasty champion here. Oop, and he just got a hold of me. So, I may die in this, but I just want to show how tough this build can be. And that's if I can get out of this guy's way. He seems to have taken a liking to me, which, regardless of how things go, he's really not my friend. Now I am running minions, core build. I'm in Heart of Thorns, messing with a champion, which is a bad idea always, because he's going to pop up right next to me probably and smack me in the face. Nope, not this time. But we're running Torment, Bleed Stacks, occasional Blind. Oh, don't try to heal the guy right now. Right now you gotta worry about staying alive. Oop. It's not smart to stand there and take hits from a champion. I've learned that all too well. And I have a feeling I may die, so as soon as this is over I'll go over the build, but I figured jumping into an almost impossible situation was probably the best way to do this. So I'm just switching back and forth from staff, and gosh, I gotta keep picking this guy up. Whoop. Get out of here. Okay, now let me get out of here in case somebody decides they're gonna respawn that guy, because he is just very impolite. Whoops, and I missed my ledge, so I guess we'll have to use some gliding here. Just give me a second to get back to where I belong. Alright, glide back over here and then we'll show you how this thing works, what I'm running for a setup, and I apologize for all the craziness, but what better way to test a build than to jump in and two people on a champion. Okay, so this is Necromancer core build. I am running Carrion Armor, which is Power, Vitality, Condition, and I'm using Runes of Crate for condition damage, condition bleeding duration. That's pretty much our main damage, is bleeding. Bleeding, torment, and occasional blind. Alright, so I'll go over some quick things real quick. We are only 27.33% crit, so we are definitely not a crit build. This is pretty much condition and smash buttons randomly to stay alive, which seems to work good. Trinkets are all mixed up. If you match them all to the same stats of the armor, you'll probably do much better. This is what everything should be, you know. They should all be matching this power, vitality, condition. But unfortunately I am unorganized, and sometimes unorganized seems to work. Okay, so we did the crate runes, we showed you that. We have Superior Sigil of Agony, and that gives you an extra 20% duration on your bleeding, which ticks damage over time, so as long as you don't stay there taking a beating, it will really burn them down. Alright, Superior Sigil of Malice gives you an extra 10% to your condition duration, which makes that a total of 30% just on that. Now I have those same two sigils on the Scepter and on the Dagger. And the reason why... No, wait a minute, I do not. Please excuse me, I think I just lied. Agony for the Scepter for the bleeding duration, because as we can see, almost most of our attacks are bleeding, the big ones, you know. Usually auto attack 2 and 3 are really good. This one gives you some life force and drops some torment, causes them damage if they're moving, chasing you around. This provides a blind if they get right up in your grill and you need to survive. So The agony is good for helping that because we are full out condition damage as determined by our armor and our runes. So for the dagger I did frailty for vulnerability. I'm really not sure why I did that. I think that was just there from when I was using axe and focus, because you can do big damage dropping all the vulnerability and then slamming it down. I'm running, I guess you could say, a minion build. I've got Blood Fiend, Bone Minions, uh, let's see here, excuse me, Blood Fiend, Bone Minions, Bone Fiend, and we have the Flesh Golem. I keep the Signet of Locust for the 25% speed boost, but a lot of people don't know you can also get a little bit of a heal out of it if you need to. Alright, so let's go into the traits, and they're mixed and matched, and they may not make sense, but they're working, as you can see. I mean, 2 people on a champion are usually totally stomped out, unless you got 4 or 5. So, start off with curses. Critical hits have a chance to cause bleeding, increase bleed duration. That doesn't affect us because we're not a crit. Alright, when you fear a foe, you can also inflict torment, and if you fall, you take less damage. Now, we go over here to Reaper's Mark on the staff number 5, and that creates fear. So you fear a foe, you inflict torment. Okay, and then over here, when we gain life force from this per condition, we also gain torment, which does a decent amount of damage. Alright, next is gain fury when entering Shroud. It's an extra critical chance, but won't really affect us because we'd have to get like 3 or 4 of those boosts that big before we could actually sit there and crit. So, alright. Terror. Fear deals damage, and it deals increased damage if the target's inflicted with another condition. Now, as you know, our fear is only running from number 5, so if you drop number 5 on them, almost all these other ones, I would probably drop number 5, swap over to this, because almost every single thing here, well, actually 1 through 5, all drop conditions. So you're going to add additional damage no matter what. Drop your fear, start stacking your conditions, and you're going to get a damage boost. Now, increased critical hit chance, that really doesn't do anything for us. Lingering curse, that is so when you're wielding a scepter, you get increased condition damage, and they have longer durations, and it gives you 150 for condition damage. Next is blood magic. Leave a mark of blood when you dodge. That can give you a small regen, not a lot. Quickening thirst. I took this for an extra speed buff when using the dagger. It gives you 25%. And let's see here. If you're above 75% health, it will recharge your dagger skill 33% faster. Vampiric is pretty much one that you have to take. It's not one you can choose, but you siphon health when you hit, and so do your minions. That helps too. Vampiric presence. You and all nearby allies with a siphon health with attacks. This effect increases while in Shroud, so you're going to be constantly gaining health no matter what on everything you hit, so that helps. I mean, it's not massive, but it's constant health coming in, so all those little hits you take that add up, it lessens those. Last rites, as long as you are not downed, allies near you do not bleed out if they're downed, gaining health and power based on your current health, so they get bonuses depending on your health if they are downed. Transfusion, Shroud 4 heals and partially revives allies. Up to 5 allies downed are teleported to you upon using Shroud skill 4. I didn't use that with the champion because I was trying to move too quick, but that probably would have helped that guy out a lot better. Death magic, gain toughness when in Shroud. Every bit helps. Minions have increased health, and you gain toughness bonus for each minion you have. So 20 toughness per minion, so I would guess I'm running 4 minions, that's 80 on toughness. Your life force generates 20% faster. Minions deal more damage and take conditions away from you. So when a minion attacks, it transfers conditions to its target. So they take your conditions, and while they're attacking, they send them to the enemy, which is nice. Whenever you leave Shroud, you and your minions get 3 seconds of protection. That's always good. Corruptor's Fever. Inflicting a condition on a foe grants stacking toughness and reduces incoming damage. And as you can see, we are constantly inflicting conditions. Every single thing on here. You switch over to your staff, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4 different conditions just off of these 3 skills, 2, 3, and 5. So you're constantly inflicting conditions, which is stacking toughness and reducing the damage that you take. This build doesn't absolutely make sense, but it absolutely works. So I'm gonna, now that I've showed you the traits and showed you the armor, even though it probably could be buffed out more if all the stats were of the same kind, but just start going around smacking stuff, and I mean, the bleed stacks from this thing are incredible. You can see him 7, 800, 300. That one was 11 something. It was too fast for me, so I couldn't quite keep a grip on it, but it was over 1,000 anyway, which is good for a bleed stack if they're ticking that high. I mean, they don't even get to you. So you can do this with mobs. I mean, if you can fight a champion with this, you can definitely do a mob. So we could drop that, drop those 2, and that guy's just melted right down. He's not going nowhere. So let's do another one. Throw a couple of marks down, drop some bleeds, do a dodge, and now I've got to heal at my feet for a couple seconds, even though I didn't need it. So I mean, it's pretty versatile. I'm gonna try not to make this video super long, because I know when I watch build videos, I like to see what I'm going to build, how it works, and a small explanation without people running on and on with their gum flapping, as I call it, which I have tendency to do. Alright, now you see this guy's only hit me a couple of times, and that's the best he could do. Oh, he's still there. I thought he was dead. Oh, this is one of those teleporting guys, isn't it? Alright, so pay no attention to the idiot behind the keyboard. Apparently I don't know what I'm doing. Bleed those down, and because his bleed stacks are so high, I can already switch to another enemy. This guy's a bit out of range, so we'll let him knock us around a little bit. Where are you? There you are. We'll go into Shroud. We'll hit number 4. Whoops. I wasn't aware that could be interrupted, but okay. So we're gaining health as we're attacking. Alright, any more of these things around here? Because I just really don't like Mordrin. They're just annoying. Throw out a blind, couple of bleeds. But I'll try not to take a really long time, but I just want to show that, you know, it's not, oh, he beat up one enemy and you know, the build craps out after that, because that's not really the case. Alright, we'll go back to this. I'm already running on 14 or 15 minutes, and I'm going to leave all my goof ups with my pronouncing stuff and making mistakes, just because it shows that I'm just a real person. I'm not perfect. I just play a game and I really enjoy it. Oh, looks like So as you can see, they've got so many conditions on them. I mean, they can't really do much. The conditions tear their health apart, and the torment on them, the more they move, the worse it gets. So for now, we'll do one last quick thing, and we'll just show this is all exotic, just superior runes, nothing fancy, cheap stuff, and that's what I like. I mean, I don't want to grind this game, make say 300-400 gold, and blow it on just 3 or 4 pieces of armor. That's, to me, that's not fun. You know, I'd rather buy some exotic, spend 20-30 gold, get a setup, and just try to make it go with what my traits are. You know, if we're not running crit, then we're not going to really push to take any type of traits that have to do with critical or whatnot. We're going to push for condition in this case. I mean, you know, we've got over 2,243 armor, so that gives us a decent amount of toughness. Our attack isn't really that strong, but the conditions are just kicking behind. So, other than that, we've got 10% on the condition duration, but for some reason when I put the mouse over it says bleeding 95%, so who knows. Let's see here, is there anything else? I think that pretty well covers everything. If you have any comments, suggestions, or whatnot, keep in mind this is all core. I mean, you can swap it around and you can do other things like, let's see here, if you go a Scourge, if you happen to have, where is it, the Torch, you can swap the Torch out for Dagger. And just for fun, once my minions recharge, actually, you know what, while I'm waiting on my minions, why don't I show a couple of how it goes with this. So as you can see, the conditions are still stacking nicely. The bleeds, the burns, the torment, the poison. Everything is running really smooth.
Arise, my creation.
And even though I'm kiting around and dodging, whoops, I hit the wrong key, but I'm not really taking any damage at all. So let's take this as soon as my flesh golem is ready. We'll go up and we'll hit some Mordrum with this setup, and all it really is just a torch instead of the dagger on the offhand. And hopefully these guys have, oh good, they have respawned. Alright. Now I'm not really familiar with using the shades from Scourge, but some people are and some people swear by it. So you get a couple of dodges in and throw some sand up. I'm not even dropping the shades, which seem to be really brutal, people are saying, for the Necro. So if I'm getting to where I don't need to drop the shades and I can just do it regular with my weapon skills, I mean, I have a staff to drop marks and stuff, but as you notice, you don't really need it. Now, this will work in the core game. It's strong, versatile, and there really isn't a set rotation. I just look for the skills that drop the most conditions. The bleeding, you got 30 seconds, and look at the damage on it, 10,539, and it also cripples them for 12.25 seconds. And then you go over here, which I didn't realize, the torch drops 9 seconds of burning, 7 seconds of torment, and then the last one is 10 seconds of torment, and it gives you might, which gives you power and condition damage, which is right exactly along with what we need. So, and these shades, I haven't really messed around with them. You can get a fear out of F4, which will turn into torment. It will chew up some of your life force here, but you will gain a bunch of it back. Death Shroud, which is F5, you gain Fury, which isn't important, but you gain 11.75 seconds of Torment, which can really do some serious damage on an enemy. Let's go hit this spider with an F5 and just see what it does to it. I haven't really used it, so apparently I must have missed. Okay, well, apparently I need to learn how to use shades, so just ignore that part for all you people that know what you're doing. But Anyway, that's my build and a variation. So if you have what's it, Path of Fire, you can use the Scourge. If you don't and you only have Heart of Thorns and you've unlocked Reaper, let's see here. Let's look at these real quick. Shouts, we don't use them. Critical hits, not really a thing. We could reduce the movement impairments. Like if somebody tries to mobilize you, cripple you, chill you, it reduces the conditions that the distance or amount of time. Whenever you inflict fear, you also inflict chill. Just adds another condition. We're not using greatsword. Striking a chilled foe grants might, which is power and condition damage. That would help. We don't want critical, so we'll take that. Alright, gain life force when you apply a boon to yourself. Chill deals damage over time. And it says that the bleeding causes chill also, so let me find where that was real quick. Let's see here, whenever you inflict fear. Let's see. I'm not sure why, but it's saying chill deals damage over time. This trait is unique per game. And then it says bleeding 15.5 seconds. So let's take a look real quick and see what we've got for bleeding, because something is making that tick that way. I mean, it's interesting if it works. You know what, let's just go smack something and see if it works. I think that's probably the easiest way. Well, it doesn't seem to really be doing much of anything different. I mean, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but the stacks are really climbing. Alright, well, let's switch back to dagger real quick, because I didn't realize I didn't have an offhand because I wasn't running Scourge. So alright, so this will be with Reaper. Let's go hit the Mordrum one more time. Video ended up being a lot longer than I had planned, but it's easier to just show some stuff as it happens. Now, this other guy is going to appear somewhere, so I gotta make sure I take him down. Now let's switch around and drop some marks and see what happens. Yeah, it just melted him right down. Alright, so I guess all in all that's my build. Like I said, there's 3 variations, one for Core, one for Heart of Thorns, and one for Path of Fire. They all do decent damage, and they're all very survivable with a minimal cost of your gold, which anybody who's played this game knows it takes forever to build up gold unless you grind 24/7, and that's no fun. Alright, so hope you guys enjoy this. If you get any suggestions, variations, or just want to make fun of me for getting tongue-tied, that's totally cool. I get it. Alright, peace.